Come in here.
Okay. Looks like we got everybody in. Okay, great. Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, great.
Okay, I can hear you. Hmm.
Hello, 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 everybody. Can you hear me? We're here live on Dreamspire TV. Montoya, can you hear me?
Okay, I was muted. I'm back. I'm on. Can you hear me?
Okay, great, man. How's it
I
going,
can hear
Montoya?
you.
Okay, Shelly, you're back too. Okay, great, great, great. We're here with our first live episode of Dreamspire TV, and I'd like to go ahead and thank everybody that's listening to us today. This is our first show, and we hope this is going to be a great show. And our topic for tonight is to mask or not to mask. That is the question. How it is actually helping us out in the world that we're living in with the coronavirus or the COVID-19. And we're going to go ahead, first of all, talk about who we are and how we're going to actually give our message to you today. My name is Greg Giles, and I work with Renata Brown, who is the CEO of Dreamspire Entertainment, publication that is. And we actually do magazines such as A-Spire Magazine and M-Spire Magazine. A-Spire Magazine actually is set up for the arts and entertainment world, and Inspire Magazine is set up for the entrepreneurs and motivators around us magazine. And we have Montoya here live with us tonight. How are you doing, Montoya?
Doing well, King. How you doing?
Great, 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 great. And please tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how long have you been doing it? And tell us about, exactly what you do with mental dialogue.
That's all good. Again, my name is Montoya Smith, aka Black Socrates. I am the curator of the Mental Dialogue Community Club. Basically, once a month, when before the pandemic, used to get together at Urban Grind, which is a black-owned coffee shop in Midtown. But every Saturday morning, we also do a talk show where we are the best in the world at doing hard conversations on race and sex. So every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio, we do the Mental Dialogue talk show. And so that's what we've been doing. Been doing the talk show for about 5 years now. The live experiences started in barbershops, and we've been doing those since 2008. We had a 2-year hiatus. So for a long time, we started in barbershops. Now we're in coffee shops.
Great, 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 great. And we also have Shelly live here with us tonight.
Yes.
Shelly live know that she is one heck of a singer, and she's here with us tonight. She's going to co-host the show tonight, and tell everybody exactly, what you do, who you are, and how long you've been doing this.
So I've been doing this for a while. I'm not going to say my age or anything, but started out doing gigs around Atlanta, singing, performing, of course, with reggae bands, which is what my heritage is. Locally all over Atlanta, then branched off and started doing Shelly Live. If I was in lyrics mode, I would be like, that's what I'm popularly known for, on 285 at 5, coming up during traffic and singing to the people snippets of song and giving them positive motivations, as well as a little TV and commercial, and now gliding into my own set of doing Naughty and Nice with Shelly Live and Be Lovebird that airs Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays on Facebook.
Okay, great, great. And right now, we're going to go ahead and let everybody know that if you actually want to check and see what other things that Dreamspire TV is actually getting into, please always check us out at www.dreamspiretv.com and all of our other social media sites to see what we got going on, what celebrity we're interviewing, and what all information that we're trying to relate to the public that they may be able to help you out in situations that we're dealing with right now. Okay, then. Right now, we want to actually go into exactly, we talked about Mr. Smith about your mental dialogue. Now he's actually teaming up with us today to discuss, our blacks actually becoming the face of this COVID-19 pandemic. Or what do you think about that?
Well, it's to a certain extent. We have just because they've unfortunately recently they've highlighted how our community has been hit more now that this pandemic is kind of spread throughout the country. So that is a real reality that stems from mostly structural issues, structural racism, if you will, as far as having underlying conditions and things of that nature. That's driven partly by personal habits, but mostly by lack of access to quality health care. So it's really no surprise that our community will be hit more in a sense than other communities. The Hispanic community is being hit pretty hard as well, especially in different areas. But again, more related to structural issues. Some people are upset about us being, in a sense, the face. But the reality is we should not be surprised. And here is the real issue, because some people have been upset by us becoming the face of this. But the real issue is it's no surprise that the news media will highlight our issues to make a little money by getting a lot of eyes on the news. I mean, they'll take our issues anytime, put them up front. And when I say our issues, I'm saying this is a real issue. So it's not like they're propagating it or anything, but the news is quick to highlight our issues because it brings eyes to the news. They're in business too.
Now, Shelly Live, go ahead, comment at any time on anything that Mr. Montoya has spoken about, because we are live right now, with DreamSpire TV, and we want everybody's input on every conversation that we have going on. What do you think about what Mr. Montoya just stated right now?
I agree with him. I think it's areas that are targeted. Predominantly, I think it's Black areas that are targeted. Even when they opened up the businesses, like they said, we're going to go back, opening businesses. There was a lot of Black things that were targeted, like the barbershops open, the nail salons open, where a lot of Black people do generate. So it's kind of like you kind of wonder who they're targeting most of the time. And it seems that way to me, just to me. I mean, that's my personal opinion, but just piggybacking off what he said.
Okay, great. And what do you think about what's actually going to happen to a lot of these businesses that have actually opened up? I can't really say if it's prematurely, or do you think that it's actually on the right time? Because me, myself, with a lot of the gyms and stuff, I know that's one place that people go and they're working out and they're sweat pouring, they're dripping, they're touching everything. I mean, I don't know if that's actually a safe place to actually, gather right now, because of the fact that people say that now they're saying that 6 feet isn't even long enough. You might have to give it 12 feet distance, because that sneeze or that cough might just travel a little bit farther than that 6 feet. So I'm not really sure about those gyms, especially if you're talking about the nail salons and the beauty salons, especially where people got to sit like 2 or 3 feet away from each other, getting their hair and their nails and everything else done. I mean, do you guys think that that's actually safe right now for them to be going to these salons and beauty parlors and these other places where they have no choice but to sit close to each other?
No, I don't think it's safe. I think people are I don't think people are taking it seriously. I think once it hits again, or it hits close to your home and you're affected by it, that's probably when people will take it seriously. Because when they opened everything back up, people was gathering. Like, I've been out just trying to get like groceries or stuff, and you see people, they're walking, they're in and out, they're touching, they're not wiping anything. These are the things you see, but then where's the enforcement? Basically, who's enforcing anything to say don't do this? It's like you're opening back up everything, so you're kind of saying go out here and do it anyway. That's what I think, and especially with the younger generation, they're not taking any precautions at all.
Yeah, I know when they were mentioning the idea that they were going to open things back up, I remember posting on social media that the one position I would not want to be in is the position of a governor of any state right now. And because the reality is, I don't lean towards the targeting of our businesses. I understand that that's kind of how things have been highlighted, but specifically here in Georgia, for example, the hair salon industry specifically put together a 9,000 signature petition asking the governor to open up. So I'm pretty sure that played a role in that industry being one of the ones that were opening up. And again, it's not for me siding. I'm just saying that's the information that's out there. And one of my side hustles is I do vending for all of the sporting events and concerts. And so those cash industries, I could only imagine. Now, it's not the only thing I do, but for some of my coworkers who do it full time, I could only imagine what getting through the month was like when you are very dependent on a tip industry, if you will, and some of those industries are that. So it's definitely a huge dilemma. But just to simply answer your question, I think we already know about the 28-page thing that the hair industry specifically got to open back up. So there were definitely some guidelines given. I would assume that those things are, 28 different pages of what you need to do before you open back up. So there were some efforts put into keeping it safer, but balancing out what do we do versus this virus. It's a hard decision. Is it safe? Clearly 28 pages tells you it's not normal.
Right. Exactly. I agree. I totally agree with that.
All right. And we got joining us right now is Miss Cheryl Mays. How are you doing, Cheryl?
Hi, I am doing well. I was actually on mute.
Okay, you're fine. How are you doing today? We definitely want to get your comment and your input about this situation that we're talking about. What's your input on it? What's your take on it?
Well, I'm here in Florida. And so, they just opened up a lot of the barbershops and the hair salons. But I am also a caregiver for my mom, who's 86. So I have to be very, very cautious. And so I only go out to go to the store. But it's interesting to see parents with kids that are in the stores and they're not masked. And, it's amazing that people still do not believe that there's a pandemic going on. And that's what amazes me the most. They're still saying, no, nothing's wrong because it's not hitting them in their area or in their family. So it's kind of a extended look. When you see it on television, you kind of go, looks like a movie, can't be real. And so I think people are still just don't believe it's happening.
Greg, could I mention something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Montoya.
I would. There are definitely those who don't believe it's happening. I don't think that's the majority of what we're witnessing. I think a big part of it is how dangerous it is. I don't think people have come to understand or accept the numbers because unfortunately, here's something that was happening consistently. Unfortunately, because, for example, from the very beginning, people were looking at, for example, the deaths and saying, that's not, they were thinking, that's not that many deaths. So they would look at that number and say, well, how is this a more serious issue than some of the past viruses, novel viruses that hit us? Or how is this an issue in comparison to the flu when the deaths were only so many? So I think it's not so much that people are taking it as a hoax. They think it's been overblown. I'm not necessarily in agreement with that, but I just think people think it's overblown. So that's kind of why you're seeing the cavalier aspect. And then for young people, young people don't think they're going to die anyway. So, and then add to it that mostly elderly have been the ones that have passed. And obviously, it's not just the elderly, but that was one of the early announcements. So when people are putting that information together on their own and coupled with not hitting close to home, right? You put all that together, and it's not so much that it's that they don't believe it. It's just they don't believe that it's serious enough to take those precautions. I just think that's kind of the overall idea of why you're seeing people be cavalier to a certain extent.
Now I know that they said that a lot of the numbers weren't even accurate on there, but yet still we seen those people in those hospitals being carried out in body bags. So my thing is that which numbers are correct, but whether the numbers are correct or not, the thing is that this is a real situation that we have to actually prepare ourselves for. And looking at the situation, we have to make sure that we're safe on all levels, as far as ourselves, our family, our loved ones, especially the elderly, because they're the ones that's been hit the most hardest with this corona pandemic. And I think that even when she mentioned, Miss Cheryl mentioned that we're seeing a lot of these adults walking into these stores and they have their mask on, but they have like 3 or 4 of the kids that don't have masks on. So I mean, if you're going to protect yourself, please protect your kids also. And that's the thing that I see is that you can't just leave your kids out in the open. It's not like they're immune to it. I mean, they can catch it also. How you doing, Miss Wall Street? All right, we have comedian Wall Street on the air right now. What's your take on seeing a lot of these people in the stores and them not act. Some people have masks, some people don't have masks. So do you think that it's actually safe for people not to have masks, or do you think that it's a real, situation that we have to be aware of? We can't hear you, Miss Wall Street. Is your mic muted?
He's muted.
Let's see if we can.
I'm not on mute. Where is the story? I'm not on mute. I'm not on mute.
Okay. We still can hear you, Miss Wall Street. But right now,
I'm not on mute.
Okay then. All right. Well, what I want everybody to do, everybody that's not speaking right now, make sure that your mics are muted so we can kill any background noise in the background. And what we're going to do, we're talking about how we actually see a lot of people in these stores, and we want to know, is it actually safe to actually travel without masks? Because a lot of people don't even have masks. I thought it was like, a state regulation that we have to wear masks now, but since they lifted a lot of the regulation for the state of Georgia, which Mr. Kemp has done, is it safe to actually travel around and go around to these stores and these places without masks on?
Only if you want to die. Only if you're interested in death would you go without a mask. Let me tell you something. People are going around here saying this 5G is a conspiracy, that the telephone cables are causing people to die. I'm a New Yorker, okay? People in New York is dying, okay? They stacking bodies up. The Undertaker's making a mint right now, okay? I wish I was a mortician because I could make some money right now. If you want to die, walk around without the mask, because some of y'all, we don't need y'all anyway, okay? You're taking up space and you're causing problems, okay? Some of y'all not thinking, and it's sad that everything is a conspiracy theory, right? When black folk hear something, they're, you know how many people that told me, oh man, they done made that junk up. Coronavirus on the Lysol can. That means they know about the coronavirus. Somebody told me it's Covid19 because it started in 2019 by Bill Gates. Let me tell you something. Believe what you want to believe. But this big girl, I already am predisposed. They say I'm fluffy. So I'm already predisposed. I got my at-risk self in my at-house, okay? Sitting down somewhere like your grandma said. So y'all can run all y'all want out there. I'll just make sure I take over your property and wish y'all family the best. Because people gonna be dying. There's a lot of people gonna be dying. And the truth is we need to get rid of some of these people, some of these illiterate people, so we can grow up. Georgia can be higher in education. If we get rid of all these dummies, then our numbers will go up. So I think it's okay for them not to wear masks, okay? Go ahead and get on out the way so somebody smart can come and take your place.
That's what I'm talking about, Wall Street. Well said. Go ahead.
I don't know. It's so. Let me tell you something. COVID-19 is not a racist, okay? It didn't target black people, okay? It didn't say, look, I'm only gonna get these black people over here in Atlanta. No, it is a disease. They say if you touch stuff, if you gotta protect your nose, you gotta protect your mouth, you gotta wear a mask. Actually, you should take it as a fashion statement. Some of it will help you look better. Some of y'all need to look better. The mask is actually helping you out and you don't even know it. All right, I'm just saying. Because people, I don't know, even in the grocery store, there are people that are violating the rules. Walking up on you, hugging you. A lady, like this Miss Wall Street, I'm hugging you. I said, look, I don't want you hugging me every day in a regular day. I definitely don't want you hugging me now. I don't know you. I'm not ready to die for you, okay? I'm not Martin Luther King. I didn't have a dream, okay? I'm just Miss Wall Street doing jokes. We got to take this stuff seriously, people. But if you don't want to take it seriously, let me put a policy on you. If you don't believe COVID-19 is real, please sign authorization for me to have a life insurance policy on you so I can come up when you go down, okay? That's it.
All right. Well, thank you for that input, Ms. Wall Street. And I know that another issue that we have is that we have a lot of kids that are sitting here that are out of school right now. Shelly, you have kids, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, then. How are your kids actually taking all of this time? What are they doing? Are they being productive, or are they getting on your nerves, or
No. My son he has schoolwork. They load it to a portal and he has to go on every day and do his classwork or he will not graduate. So he's very focused. He stays in his room. He is isolated. He is scared to death to leave the house. So no, he gets on every day from his 4 to 5 hours. He does his assignments. He takes his breaks. He goes to the gym. I mean, they do everything online for his school. It just has a good school. He just does good. I mean, he's very focused on what he's doing.
Cool. Anybody else out there that got kids that they're dealing with the COVID-19 stuck at home, or one thing that I know is actually affecting a lot of the kids' graduations date. So I mean, I don't know how they're actually feeling about that. I don't have any kids that are in school right now. My youngest daughter is actually in the Navy right now. Just not really telling my age, but it's out there. But
some of them graduated because of COVID-19. I had one that was gonna fail, but thanks to COVID-19, she's able to pass. Okay, COVID-19 saved her life.
Wow, that's good. I know that we've seen a lot of the kids out there doing really creative things as far as coloring and learning and doing the things that they would do in school, because now the parents actually get to see what the teachers deal with on a daily day-to-day basis with dealing with their kids. And a lot of the parents that actually thought that the teachers were lying on their kids, no, now they see firsthand what the teachers are dealing with from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m.
They eat all the food. I don't realize why people need food stamps during COVID-19, okay? My grandkids come over here. I am about to be bankrupt. I would have survived. Oh, wow, what happened? Oh, no.
We can hear you, Miss Wall Street.
Okay, the grocery took me out of the game. Okay, I lost the job. The grocery took me out of the game. Y'all, I commend all parents. It takes thousands of dollars to feed these children. Thousands a month.
Exactly.
Yes.
Miss Howard, how are you doing? We see you in the background back there.
What, you see that Wall Street? You see this proclamation from the governors? All this good stuff. Outstanding citizen by Governor Kemp. I know, yeah, I know. Don't hate, but appreciate. Proclamation, got my own name in County. I just want you to know I am somebody. I'm famous in 6 counties and counting. Okay.
All right. Is that Miss Anicia?
Hi. Yes. Hi.
How you doing? What's your take on what's going on with this COVID-19? And saying our topic tonight is is it all right to mask or not to mask? Because we see so many people out there that aren't masking that are being around us. And do you think that you actually might get affected by somebody that's not wearing a mask?
Most definitely. I have had the blessing to be able to be at home, working from home. So I'm with Miss Wall Street. I'm staying quarantined. I don't care what they say. So until they tell me that it's raining in Southern California, I'll be in the house. So as of right now, I go out to like Walmart and just for the essentials, groceries and things like that. And I'm surprised. I mean, I would expect it maybe from the younger people, they're going to be a little bit rebellious. But I'm seeing a lot of my generation and age group that just seems to want to buck the system. And I don't think people are taking it seriously because it does seem like it's, it's just like a flu epidemic or, people are recovering from it. But I really am taking it serious. I think people just do need to take it a little bit more serious. From my understanding as well, this is not the worst of it. This is just kind of like the first wave. So I'm curious to see what the next wave is going to look like. But I feel like if we're not taking it seriously, people are not wearing gloves, people are not spraying down. I actually had a lady that laughed at me the other day when I was getting in my car. I have hand sanitizer as well as Lysol spray in my car. So as soon as I get in my car, I'm spraying my steering wheel down, I'm spraying myself down, I'm spraying my handles down. And she kind of looked at me with this like crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, I want your life insurance policy, like Miss Wall Street said. I'm just baffled that people are not taking it as serious, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating. I'm getting text messages from my nail salon saying we're open. I sent one back saying I'm glad you are, but I kind of value life over getting my nails and my hair done. So
Great,
that's
great, great, great. I know a lot of people out there are definitely in agreement with you because a lot of people definitely, they're just running to get back to these nail salons and these stores and stuff like that. But we also know, that Miss Shelley Live, she's on a schedule tonight, so she's gonna have to go. But my last question for you, Shelley, is cabin fever real? Do people
It's
actually get upset when they're in the house?
Yes,
Have
they do.
nowhere to go.
Yes,
How are these
they
people
do.
handling this situation? Are that creating a lot of tension with it being in the household all day?
Yes, I think it does. It's a lot because especially if you're used to being on the move and you're used to not seeing the same people so often in a day. Yes, for me, yes, definitely yes. And then working, I do everything from home now. Like I'm working from home. I'm doing like literally everything in my house. I'm seeing my kids all day, every day, Monday through Sunday with no give. Sometimes you want them to go away a little bit, but they still be right there. So, and I'm seeing my husband every day, every day. So yes, it's cabin fever. Trust and believe. I just want to back up a little bit and say, give me some room to breathe. But no, it's all good though.
All right. Anybody else out there dealing with any cabin fever, any issues at home while we're sitting here trying to be productive in our households?
I'm going to jump in, Greg. Thank you so much for keeping this with me. People that know where I'm at, we have some lovely young people here. They're not always the time the quietest, but we're definitely just glad to be able to spend time with family and friends. And you can get cabin fever. And I work at home every day. So it's one thing when you can't go outside, when you're at home. But it's another thing when I'm like, if I see Walmart one more time, okay, it's like I go to 5 places and I'm about sick of all those places. And, with us, with the magazines and everything, we're used to being at events or expos on the red carpet. And it's really affected so much of what we do on the magazine side because everything is closed down and so we're just in a different world. And I know I asked Miss Wall Street to be a guest on the show tonight because she was really laying down some real knowledge about how to maneuver financially in the situation too, because a lot of us are signing up for stuff and we have to really be cognizant of some of the things that we sign up for, that we have it all together. And a little later on, I'm gonna bring her back in and she can talk about that as well. But I wanted to do this show, Mask or Unmasked. It was important because as I do go out and about, I see people out there not protecting themselves, not being social distancing and all that stuff. And it really concerns me because as you were saying, Montoya, it's not so much a Black issue as it is an issue of because we are Black, we are in systems that are not set up for us to really make the best. So we are kind of starting from behind, and because we're starting from behind, I see that we are being affected, not because, as Ms. Wall Street was saying, that COVID is no respecter of person, as they would say in the church. It's definitely no respecter of person, but because of some of the socio-economical things, because of racism, we are already behind the 8 ball. In Atlanta, I was reading some of the statistics that kind of came out pretty much consistent from all that I've read, is that the mortality rate in Atlanta is 4%. That's astronomical. And anytime you have 4% of anything, that's a lot. And then out of those 4%, the number that's coming out is that 80% of those people that are in the hospital look like me and you. And because they look at me like me and you, I'm concerned. I'm concerned, and it's like, okay, I don't care what you believe. I don't care whether you believe Corona came from a bat, from the Chinese, from Bill Gates, or whatever it is you believe. And not even so much to mask or unmask. I know as for me and mine, we're going to mask. But what's important is, Are you taking the precautions that you can take? Are you keeping yourself safe? Are you making financial decisions in this time? Do you know, as I'm an entrepreneur, so are you really knowing what's available, and does it make sense for you to partake of some of the things that are available? You think about your tax return, think about different things. Are all your ducks in a row? So those are some of the things that are really concerning to me about this, and especially being in Georgia. I'm a native of California, but I've been here for many years now. And so I can just look at the difference between what's happening in California with Governor Newsom closing everything down, and then what's happening in Georgia with Governor Kemp opening everything up. So except for the essential services that I considered essential before this time, I thought essential was government services. Like, what is it now? They say 20,000 kids have got their license and they never had to take a driving test, and they're going to be out on the 285 with us. It's already a scary place in Georgia to drive. So definitely those are some of the concerns that I have. Anybody else? I'm going to mute myself, but anybody else want to chime in on any of those things, let me know. Put your hand up. Definitely, if you want to come in. There's a couple other guests that are going to be dropping by as well.
Yeah, I would just reiterate, there's the 4% in Georgia or whatever, just giving a perspective on it. Some people may not have a good perspective on it. And so at the early onset, when they would, again, this is a novel virus. So a lot of things that we're seeing, this is something that I think people are also failing to understand, that because it's a novel virus, some things are being discovered real time. I mean, when I even saw them, all of it, it's a novel virus. Everything is being discovered real time. And so even at the onset, literally late in the year, early January, when this thing was in a sense still at least known in China, they were talking about that it's shown a 1% mortality rate. And some people were dismissive of that. But you have to understand that the flu, which is what people seem to want to compare it to, has a 0.01% fatality rate. So 1% in perspective is 10 times greater than that of the flu. So while we have flu numbers, and that, again, this is because people are often, for those, in my opinion, who are being cavalier, I think people who are being cavalier, I think they believe it. Like, one thing that we kind of keep saying, even on this broadcast, is people don't believe it. And I know that kind of was driven by a lot of the hoaxes and a lot of conspiracies and things of that nature. But those very people definitely are aware that people are dying, even if those people have not hit home. But they're still making the mistake, for example, of looking at just the deaths only. Because in Georgia, people I can understand this statement because there's things that they're failing to understand. People in Georgia are saying, well, there's only 1,300 deaths in Georgia right now. So when you look at it just in the context of death, that person's saying, why the heck is everything closed when there's only 1,300 deaths? That's not a lot of deaths in the big scheme of things. But back to your 4%, Renata, 4%, if you look based on what I just explained to you, now you're talking about 40 times the mortality rate of the flu. And then what people will say, just to be fair, they'll say, well, those numbers are still not accurate. They are correct, because the biggest mistake that we have made, and I know this wasn't easy to do in a country as large as ours, so I'm going to give a little bit of concession, but ultimately the biggest issue we're having is we have never committed as a government to mass testing. We have not committed to mass testing, and because we have not committed to mass testing, that's where the numbers are up and down and are confusing. And so because the numbers are this one day and another number this day, people are not taking it serious because they believe the numbers are being manipulated. But the reality is, without mass testing, and we can't have as accurate numbers, it's not that the numbers are being manipulated. These are all the numbers that can be gathered without having mass testing. Because the reality is, if we were able to, for example, mass test Georgia, the reality is the mortality rate is probably going to fall well below 1%, We're at 4% because we haven't tested most of the population. So because people have a small understanding that the mortality rate is probably not really 4%, the mistake they're making is that number's not real. So now they have to take a linear thought and say, well, since that number's not real, I don't have to take it serious. But if they were talking to a scientist would say, you're right that number's high based on our ability to test. But if this thing ends up being at 1% and the rest of Georgia gets it, that 1,300 is going to quickly turn into a number that we couldn't live with. That's what a scientist would try to explain to someone who's dismissive of the 4%, because that person in their mind says, I know that number's not accurate. You're right. It's not accurate, but it's not full context.
And that's the thing. And some of these, all of a sudden people have become statisticians and data analysts. And I worked in the data analyst field for a lot of years. And your true numbers can be manipulated, and numbers can mean what you want them to mean. But you have to have a knowledge of subsets. You have to have a knowledge of hypotheses. And that's what people don't understand. And that, to me, because I do have that data analyst background, and I see what the numbers are coming out as, knowing that, they're moving. It's just like I used to work for a major car dealer in the regional office, and I was in charge of a $6 million budget in 158 stores. Well, the incentives for those stores were based on the number of cars that they sold. So of course that number is going to go up every single day, or it's going to ever be a changing target. But still, we were able to forecast based on over time what numbers do. And so that's why people don't understand why that, the difference between 0.1 and 0.1, that's a huge difference. And when you're talking about from 1 to 4, just in these, I think we have these clusters that are happening because you have to understand that, there's major cities and then there's the rest of America. You can even look at Georgia as the perfect example. There's Metro Atlanta, and then there's the rest of Georgia. And those are two different clusters altogether. You have all these people that are squeezed in to Atlanta, and then you have the people that are throughout the whole other state. But of course, the people in Atlanta, because we're all close together, we have a much higher rate and a chance of infection for sure. Okay, I'm done. You can bring somebody in.
All right, everybody. One thing that I've noticed is that we actually have a lot of the coronavirus situation where people are getting these stimulus checks, and I know a lot of people are using their stimulus checks, saying very wisely. I hear one lady that took her stimulus check and actually fed her neighborhood. What would be the smartest thing to do once you've received that stimulus check, as far as, is it best to pay your bills? Is it best to go ahead put that money up for a rainy day? Or what are people doing with their stimulus checks? Anybody can chime in on that. Go ahead, Miss Wall Street.
I didn't get mine, so I can't tell you what people are doing with it. But I say when I do get mine, I did get an SBA loan. I do finance. I don't know if people know this about me. I'm Miss Wall Street. I got a lot of assets and a lot of assets. I teach people how to do finance every day. I'm a real estate consultant.
What should people be doing with their money, Miss Wall Street?
I'm sorry?
Well, what should people be doing with their money? The stimulus checks. What do you think that they should be doing with it right now?
What people should be doing is deferring all bills. Cash is king right now, people. This is the lesson I want you all to know. I have been I grew up poor, poverty-stricken. I learned I'm self-made, okay? Self-made, middle class. That's it. All these assets, because you have to maintain money. Money is crucial right now. You should save that money. You should defer all credit card debt. You should tell everybody every month, coronavirus, COVID-19, I'm struggling, and try to get your bills deferred, your credit cards deferred, and keep all cash. I need you to use your credit card to charge everything. And Pookie and them, I know y'all don't have credit cards, Pookie and Ray right now, because you don't have credit and your mama messed your name up. But I'm telling you, right now, we learned from the last recession that cash is the powerful tool. And Susie Orman did a whole article about holding on to credit cards. Our people don't understand finance. And I'm talking to our people, people of color, the brown people. Nobody taught us finance. Your mama just said, go to school, get a job, get a house, and buy some insurance. That was the lesson that we learned about finance as people of color. And I'm telling y'all, that's not stable finance. And nobody told me that real estate would be the most powerful thing that I had ever done in my life. Anybody that is paying rent right now, if you're paying rent, you're scared about your apartment. But if you have a mortgage, you defer your mortgage payment. You don't have to pay your mortgage. They're letting us go 3 months without a mortgage. You see the power of the difference of two entities? People that have credit, that pay their bills. Credit cards are lowering rates. My card told your car payment. When do you think you'll be able to pay it? I said August. You see what I'm saying? I could pay it, but why use my capital? We have to get our credit and our lives together. If you have not paid your credit cards, you have collections on your credit, they've changed the credit module. Pay your collections, settle those debts, and get your credit together. Because people, credit is the most powerful tool you have to fight a recession. I can literally live off my $67,000 worth of credit cards till this thing is over. That's what I'm telling you. Now, Donald Trump was the master of bankruptcy, okay? Remember, this man has filed bankruptcy more than anybody. But I think people have forgotten that he's the bankruptcy king because that's what he did when his debt became overwhelming. We as people, we run out and buy TVs. You go to Walmart, everybody buying a new TV and PlayStations and all this stuff. None of this stuff is assets. If you must do something with your money, buy an asset. Put down on a piece of land. Buy a house. Soon the government's going to give you a stimulus to buy a house. The interest rates are low. One house, Mr. Giles, changed my life. My first property I bought, 126 Quincy Street, Brooklyn, New York. Google it. 126 Quincy Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11216. I bought a house for $145. I sold a house for $350 2.5 years later. Came to Georgia with my $150,000 and bought over 30 acres of land and about 80 other houses. To this day, the house that I'm filming from right now has 180,000 equity. Forget about all the land I still own and all that stuff. I paid my taxes so I could talk about this, okay? I wasn't talking before last year because I had a little tax issue and I need to get it resolved before the man knew what I had. Well, okay, I'm telling y'all, every time I get, I pay taxes with it. And some of y'all gonna be losing your house. You're gonna be behind on your mortgage. And call me if you're behind. I will give you a U-Haul truck so you can get out. I will give you about $500 to live your best life somewhere else and take over the property. Because if you don't manage, you're gonna be out. Okay?
Exactly. Cheryl, I hear you. You got some comments and questions or things that you want to say. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, I just want to, one of the pieces that we need to remember to look at is the aftermath of what's going on. As I'm a coach, and I spend a lot of time with people on coping skills. When you asked the question earlier about being, grouped in together, quarantine and cabin fever, the domestic violence has increased, child abuse has increased. So, there are things that we need to look at to help people in coping with this, because you're in the house with somebody that's been abusing you and your outlet was to either go to work or maybe your outlet was to go out with your friends or something, and now you don't have that. So you're in the house with this person that's abusing you and you have no outlet. And the same with kids that are being, abused by their parents. It's the same thing. Their resolve was, I get to go to school for 8 hours and be away from this abuser, and now they don't have that opportunity. So a lot of the mental health issues need to be looked at a lot more. And there are a lot of coaches, myself, and I've grouped up with some coaches, and we hold sessions to help people through this on how to cope with being in the house with these individuals that you normally are afraid of. So I think that's a huge piece to the outset of what's happening because of this coronavirus. And it's huge when you think about mental health issues.
Oh yeah, that does make sense. That makes sense. Well, I'm coping by myself.
Definitely.
Yeah, we had our first mental health
a lot of
session.
babies made for coronavirus. You're gonna call them Comment 1 and Comment 2. No protection. You're gonna name no protection. I'm sure somebody in love over here. But what if you are, coach, married to some lunatic, okay? And you gotta be now day and night with a nut. You were preparing to get the divorce, but then Covid19 came, and now you're stuck with the nut. What do you tell these people? Like, go to your area, like the border roses, you go upstairs, I stay downstairs. Don't you come upstairs, I won't come downstairs. I don't have the problem, but somebody out there is going through. You know, somebody out there going through and dealing with this stuff. I thank God I live alone. Now I use that excuse to learn people. Y'all, this is a wonderful experience. I'm going to tell you, I learned so much from being quarantined. As a comedian, I'm on the road every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, doing somebody's show. I'm doing a show. During the week, I'm doing a show. I'm running. Let me tell you something. I learned how to play board games. I forgot I had the Scrabble. I forgot I had Monopoly. Me and my grandbaby played I Declare War. I mean, we gardening. And Lord, I heard we about to get unemployment. Somebody told me I can apply because I'm a gig. I'm about to get, if I get $2,400, y'all ain't never going back to work. You don't need to worry about me no more. I'll be straight. Okay, all I need is an extra check to go on my other check. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell y'all. This quarantine has been the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. I'm like, glad it's not you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Okay. And if I get that $2,400, don't call me about nothing. Okay. Don't call me about nothing. I'm gonna be straight with my rent and my unemployment check. You wouldn't be able to tell me nothing. Because nobody has ever gotten $2,400. Now, I want y'all to remember this. They didn't think grocery store people wasn't nothing. Okay, people talked to them like they were dogs. Okay, people at the fast food window. I mean, if people could slap them, they would. Because some people do mess up your order. You want to slap them. But now, a fast food worker, I want you to digest this. We didn't want to give them $8 an hour, $10 an hour 2 years ago. And now they are essential workers. They're the only people can't get unemployment. They're the only people that had to work through this whole thing. You know what the lesson to be learned here is? You should have stayed in class. Education was the key. Am I the only one feeling like that? You really messed up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're going to bring Mika in. Mika, what you got to say about all of this?
Gotten my stimulus check. The same way I literally just filed my taxes because I do own businesses. So it took me a little while to get everything together because I never get anything back. I never get anything back. So at the end of the day, I hold off as long as I can to file my taxes. But I did go ahead and file so that I can see about getting the stimulus check. But the first thing that I said, half and half. It'll be a 50-50. My grandmother always taught me, if you get a nickel, save 5 cents. If you get a quarter, save 5 cents. So I plan on saving half, but the other I am definitely going and have been investing. I've gotten kind of savvy at some of the day trader apps and doing that type of thing. So that's my actual plan. I've gotten some of my friends on board. We actually pooled our little money together because our company did give us a 25% increase on our salary because we are considered essential workers, even though we're working from home. But the cool part is we took our 25% increase and pooled it together. We bought a couple of different shares of stock in Facebook, Twitter, and a couple of other different shares and some gas. Ourselves, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, great. You got anything else to say, Montoya, about the situation that we're dealing with, or any comment about what Ms. Howard just stated?
No, I think it's pretty covered. The things that y'all are discussing is pretty covered. The victim, the lady before her, just talking about the mental health. That's definitely something that is kind of an ongoing thing, but I think people are finally starting to get a little better with it. There was a lot of anxiousness in the beginning that caused a lot of anxiety. We actually did a show, well, not a show, but a group therapy via the phone, something that we plan to continue going because we don't know we're going to come out of this thing. So, in a few weeks, hopefully, for people that are struggling with the mental health aspect, hopefully we'll have something with the Middle Dialogue Community Club. Not hopefully, we will have at least a couple of months group therapy via the phone. So that's something that we've come up with in the meantime. So that's just something to put out there because the one caller or the one person mentioned it.
Well, the one thing that I want to know is that everybody that's out here, they're going crazy over this Lysol, this bleach, this toilet tissue, and everything else that you can't find in stores that much anymore. When this is all over with, do you guys actually think that those people are going to be that clean, or are they going to go back to bed? Because some of these people, I know that they were really, really nasty. Sometimes when you go in people's houses, sometimes you don't want to touch anything. But now everybody's like super, super clean. Do you think that people are going to keep that same attitude and those things that we learned during this pandemic? As far as when this is all over with, what do you guys think? Is everybody going to stay the same, or you think they're going to go back to their old ways?
I think some people will stick with it. I think that's just human nature. Due to this becoming in a sense, the new normal, you're just going to see a percentage that sticks with it more so than would have before this happened. And then you're going to have a lot of people that return to normal. But I think you will have a percentage of people, again, who take these precautions more now. Like that number will still rise. Most people eventually will get back to their old habits to a certain extent. But the reality is, until our country and the rest of the world is more prepared for a novel virus of this nature, which is what's going to take place over the next 18 months to 24 months. Once that's kind of basically shored up to where the world feels like they can handle something like this happening again, that's when people will get completely lax, I think. But again, some people will stick with it. Most people won't.
Well, what about, do you think that the people, anybody can chime in on this? Go ahead, Renata.
I'll chime in. Yeah, I think that people keep saying when we get back to normal. I really think that this whole thing is going to be a new normal, that we're never going to get back to the place that we were. And one thing I've noticed in business, that it's very important to be agile. And a lot of people lost out because they weren't able to pivot and be online if you have face-to-face business. And so it's very important that, wherever you find yourself, Ms. Walter, you did a lot of joking and laughing, and that's why we brought you, bring some levity to the situation. But at the core, you have to invest in yourself. You have to figure out what your new normal is in this situation. What is that going to look like 18 months from now? Because as you were saying, Montoya, we haven't, it's novel for one thing, it is new, and they're still finding out things about it. And I think that's what has led to a lot of the confusion, because you're hearing this and you're hearing that, and then throwing in a bunch of conspiracy theories and everything. So it does seem like you can put me on with other people. I don't want to be all up in the square by myself. But what you can see from this is that how prepared are we really? Because we have learned we cannot depend on the government, because $1,200, yes, yeah, we're happy for that little bit of come, but how much is that really going to sustain you in what you do? How prepared are you if all the stores would have closed? How prepared are you? So it really, how healthy are you? How are we eating right? Are we taking care of our bodies? Are we doing the things that not make us such a target? The name of the show is Masked or UnMasked. Is Are Blacks becoming the face? And that are, I just said, Blacks are becoming the face of COVID. And it kind of desensitizes people, because then it doesn't just become, and like you were saying earlier, the media, they're happy to put our face up there as being that, because then it makes other people feel comfortable. It makes other people kind of laugh off. Oh, well, blacks are dying. So now I don't even, in brown people, I don't have to worry about it so much. And so, it's all of those things. We have to prepare. We have to make the best of the situation, and we have to use this as an opportunity to come up. I don't think it's one simple answer or one simple thing to do, but as a people, I think we have to, at some point, we have to learn how to really be the best in whatever situation it is. And I'm not going to even say come together. It would be nice if we can come together and be on one accord, but that's never happened. That didn't happen during slavery. That didn't happen during the civil rights movement, and it's not going to happen now. But how much of the collective, how many like-minded people can we come? Because you can't worry about those who don't want to do it or those who don't want to be collective. You have to see how we can come together, those who have that mind to come together. At least those are my thoughts.
Great. And I really, my thoughts are actually with you, Renata, on that. But I really wish that a lot of these renter places that we rent from and all these mortgage companies would really, even as far as people that we pay our bills to, would actually go ahead and, put everything on a back burner as far as, giving people a chance to get caught up, once this is all over with. I know some of these mortgage companies are giving us, telling us that they're waiving the fees for the next couple of months, but when it's all over with, they want us to pay all of that at one time. If we're not working, there's no way that we could pay all of that at one time. So, I mean, that's just common sense. If we're not working, we're not making any money. So that means that we're not going to be able to pay 3 and 4 months all at one time because we weren't working. Maybe we can pay that last month, that money, that month that we're actually starting back working, we can do that. What they need to do is put that on the, on, as far as mortgage is concerned, put that on the back end of our mortgage and add another 3 months onto it, because that's not going to hurt them. If we got, 8 to 10 year mortgages and stuff like that, that's not going to hurt them a couple of months to put that on the back end. And of course, with these places that people are renting, give these people a chance to catch up on the stuff. Don't just try to put them out because of the fact that you might be waiving the rent right now, but then if you want all of it at one time, or you're going to evict these people, that's not right. Some people are already being evicted from their homes. So I mean, that's one thing that I think that we definitely got to look at as far as reaching out to these people and these mortgage companies and see what they could do for us, because this is really a hard time for a lot of people.
Is it actually? How much? I needed to get to something else. I didn't know. I didn't realize. I'm sorry. I didn't. Is it okay for me to?
We can't hear you, Miss Wall Street.
Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you joining us and having this conversation. The playback will be available. We're going to download this, so even those who weren't able to join us tonight, they'll be able to see the show. We'll put it up on our website. We're going to put it up on YouTube, because I think we did touch on a lot a lot of stuff, and I knew this time would fly by so quickly. All right, thank you so much for joining us. Peace.
All right, thank y'all.
All right.
Okay, Miss